Today we're looking at Glencoe Course 2 Math, Lesson 6.6 on solving inequalities. We're on page 498, and when we think about an inequality, a lot of times we know what inequalities are, but we don't know that they're called inequalities. So, saying that something is less than something else, or greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. Those are our four inequalities that we could be working with. The good news is that solving an inequality works the same way as solving an equation. So, if we didn't do too great with solving equations, we can get that practice with our inequalities. If we did really good with solving equations, then solving inequalities is going to be really easy. Okay? There's one extra step that we're going to take at the end of solving an equation, and that is graphing the inequality. If we graphed an equation, we would have a point, because our variable equaled one quantity. When we graph an inequality, we are representing all of the possible quantities that could be represented. Okay? So, let's start by solving an inequality, and then we'll look at how we graph it. If we look at page 498, example 1. Example 1 says that we have x plus 3 is greater than 10. X plus 3 is greater than 10. So, if this was an equal sign, what would we do to figure out what x is?
10 minus 7, or 10 minus 3.
Okay, very good. So if we had an equal sign instead of an inequality, we would subtract 3 from both sides. So we're going to do the same thing here. That shows that x is greater than 7. Sometimes it's hard to differentiate between our inequality symbols and the letter L and the number 7. Okay, so do what you need to make that work. Okay? Alright. Now I have an inequality. X is greater than 7. I can graph that part. So this is my answer. This is my solution to my inequality. So I'm going to draw in a number line. Something that I want to make sure that you understand. Number lines don't have to start at 1. They don't have to start at 0. Our number lines can kind of go wherever we want them or need them to. Thank you. We don't want hoods in the building. Alright, so if I have the inequality that x is greater than 7, I'm going to put 7 or some quantity close to that in the middle of my number line. I'm going to use 7. And I'm going to draw and put a couple numbers below and a couple numbers greater. Please remember that this is your video day. Please remember that this is our video day. We know that a point has to go with the number 7. But some of our points are going to be open circles, and some are going to be what we call closed circles. That means that they're going to be colored in. The open circle that's here, this one's going to be open, because x can approach the number 7, but x cannot be equal to 7. Okay? If it approaches but cannot be equal to, we leave that circle open. If it can approach and be equal to, we fill it in. Okay? If x is greater than 7, because my alligator mouth eats what's bigger, and it's eating my variable, and that means that I need to then add a line in the positive direction, and I put an arrow at the end of it. Because we don't stop at 10. It can be anything greater than that as well, and the arrow says that. Okay? The arrow at the end here says that this quantity can keep continuing until infinity and the statement will still be true. What questions do we have about this example? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I asked you.
Okay. Any other questions about this example? What did we do differently here compared to an equation? Yes.
We did a number line.
We added a number line to the end. Okay. Let's look at another example. On page 499, please stop. On page 499, I'm looking at example 2. Example 2. And example 2 says -6 is greater than or equal to n minus 5. So, yes, ma'am. Yes, I need to pass. So, what am I going to do first to try to get this inequality simplified so that I have a variable and I have one other value, one other number? What am I going to do to get that variable n by itself? Yes, ma'am. What's your question? What? Not hold on. After instruction, I can get that for you. What would we do? If you're not sure, what does it say that we do on page 499?
I don't even know.
Yes, ma'am?
You plus 5 to -6 and plus 5 to -5.
Okay. So I have one student that says that I add 5 to both sides. Do you agree? Okay. And this was -6 equals n minus 5. Would we add 5 to both sides? Yeah. We're going to do the same thing. We just have a different symbol. Okay. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. What is -6 plus a positive 5? Yes, ma'am?
-1.
-1. -1 is greater than or equal to n. Questions about what we did here? We're good?
Yes.
Okay. Let's graph this inequality. Alright, so I have a number line. I add some numbers. Okay. What number should I put in the middle? Yes, sir? You want to give me a guess?
I got you.
Okay?
Go on the number line, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
What should I put around the middle?
A number?
Okay, which number? If we're graphing the inequality, -1 is greater than or equal to n, what number should I put around the middle of my number line?
0.
We can put 0 there. 1, 2, 3. -1, -2, -3, -4. Okay? Where does my circle go?
Over 0.
Are you sure?
Oh no, over 1. -1.
Over -1. Okay. Does this say greater than or equal to? Does the symbol mean, is it just greater than or is it greater than or equal to? Okay, so if it's or equal to, is our circle still going to stay open and empty?
No.
No, we're going to fill it in. Okay. Now, my arrow. Is my arrow going to go in the positive or in the negative direction?
Negative.
You say negative. Why?
Because -1 is greater than n. Well, n.
Right, so because -1 is bigger, then n has to be anything smaller, which says we go in the negative direction. Okay? Questions? Do we have any questions? Okay. I want us to look at one more example. I would like for us to look at example 3. A plus a half is less than 2.
China.
Okay, what am I going to do here to get my variable a by itself?
Body.
What would I divide by?
Subtract.
You think I should subtract?
Yeah.
Do you agree?
No. Oh. Yeah.
So I'm going to subtract on both sides. What quantity am I going to subtract?
Well, is it a number?
I'm going to subtract a half on both sides. A half minus a half gives me 0. I'm left with a being less than. What's 2 minus a half?
1.5.
1.5. Okay. I'm going to draw my number line over here. Okay. Now, in this number line and in this number line, I counted by ones. Does it make sense to count by whole number ones this time?
No.
No, what should I count by? I should count by halves. And what should go in about the middle of my number line? What?
0.
I can put 0 there again.
Stop, son.
That's smart.
Who had that do?
Okay? So, I have A is less than 1.5. So where does my circle go? Where? At 1.5. Is my circle open or does it get filled in?
Open.
It's going to stay open. Good. What direction does my arrow go in? Positive or negative?
Negative.
Negative. Why?
Because it says it's less than.
Good. Okay. All right. Are there any questions?
I ain't doing it.
Do we have any questions about our examples?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.